Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. My favorite makeup today is this. This is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Sugar Glow kit. My favorite out of the kit this week is Gumdrop. It's this really beautiful like iridescent pinky shade that sort of has like a glitter effect to it. It's really beautiful and blinding. So the other day I did a neglected makeup video. I'll link that in the cards above. Basically, I picked out a whole bunch of makeup that I hadn't used since I went away, or some of it had been completely neglected like for months at a time, and I had resigned myself that I was going to need to use all this stuff. Otherwise, if I didn't use it, I didn't need to keep it anymore. So today's video will be one of the looks I made with all of that makeup. So first up, I've already put on my moisturizer, but the primer I had picked out to use up is my Becca First Light Priming Filter. I just really like this primer, but I didn't use it very much when I was traveling because it didn't go with the foundations I was using. I really needed it, I needed it to like go with like my Makeup Forever, and I can use it also with my Fenty, which is what I'm going to be using today. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is sort of like a purpley primer, and I think it has a nice like citrusy smell, which I don't mind, and I find it absorbs really well into the skin, and it gives me sort of like a nice radiance without looking too artificial. The Fenty foundation itself tends to make me look a little bit artificial, so it's nice to have something underneath, you know, give you a little bit of a glow, because the Fenty is extremely matte. So now that I have put that on, I'll let that sit for a second, and then I'll add the foundation on top. And the foundation I'm using today is my Fenty. This is my Pro Filt'r Soft Matte Longwear Foundation. I'm in the shade 190. You do have to shake this. It's in a lovely frosted glass bottle. I do like this foundation a lot. It is just very, very much, it's a matte foundation, and it can be a little artificial. You can look a little bit like a doll, and you know, maybe that's what you're looking for. For me personally, I find it can make my face a little bit dry if I don't have a good moisturizer on underneath, which I do. And if I use too much of it, I definitely look artificial. I find this foundation personally works best with either my fingers or a brush, but I don't really like applying foundation too much with a brush, so I tend to opt for fingers if I have an option. I don't particularly like this foundation with a beauty blender or a makeup sponge. I just don't find it blends very well. It will also be interesting to see how well this foundation works on my current skin tone. I'm a little darker than I was when I bought it, and this may look a little bit too light for a little bit, so I might have to do some contouring as well, which is totally fine, but it's not something I was bothering with. You know, while I was in Florida, I was tending to wear a very light, like a lightweight foundation that has sunscreen in it. One thing about this foundation is that if I powder over it, it's definitely too much. I am going to put on a little bit of concealer because what I wanted to use was this. This is from Becca. This is my Undereye Brightening Corrector. This sort of just lightens up under the eyes as opposed to concealing it, so it doesn't necessarily cover like your dark stuff. It just reflects the light so you don't look as tired. So I find this works pretty well with like a lighter foundation, and I know I'm going to have to blend this a little bit better once I apply it, but I'll just pat that in with my finger. I do really enjoy this stuff. I think it does work for what it's doing. There's a limit to how much you can sort of like correct if you're very, very sleepy, or you know, you don't want to put so much concealer on that it looks creasy and unpleasant. So sometimes you just have to let it go, recognize you're going to have some dark circles, and just sort of divert the light away, and that's what the Becca is for. And normally I would powder that a little bit, but with this Fenty foundation, if I powder, I could look a little bit cakey. So I'm just going to let this be and let it dry a bit. Next up for blush, we're actually using a Becca blush as well. This is one of the Luminous blushes in the shade Camellia. I picked this up. I received a gift card for Christmas, and I just picked it up on a whim because it was one of the things I had never tried before, and I had loved the way that this blush looks on other people and like what it looks on people on YouTube or even in person. I have a friend who has one of these blushes, not this particular shade, and like, I love it. That was a little heavy-handed, I would say. This is really pigmented, but the color on this is just really beautiful. I feel like it makes me look very pink and lovely. This is the right shade for me in terms of what I like my blush to look like. I don't really like an orangey blush. I like a very pink blush, so I just really love the color of it, and I love like the nice glow that it gives you. Today's look is actually very pink in general because I'm going to be going on to the Anastasia Glow Kit, and I already talked about Gumdrop, and that is the shade I'd like to use today. I just really like this shade. Again, going for the pink. I like a good pink highlighter. I like a good pink blush. It's just the way I like looking, whether or not it's necessarily the most flattering. I think it looks good on my particular skin tone, and I just think that this highlighter itself is very beautiful. But I actually have enjoyed all the highlighters in this kit. I think Butterscotch is the one I use the least, but just because that's a little darker than I generally tend to go. But I think all of the colors in here are really quite nice. And we've got 3 products to go, so we're going to move on to the eyeshadow, then there's eyeliner, and also lipstick. So the eyeshadow we're using this is from Urban Decay. This is the Fun palette. This is a palette I've been keeping for years and years, and this is what the shadows look like in it. It's got some beautiful purples in it, as well as like some nicer shimmer shades, and I love this deep end shade as well. These shades do appear in other palettes. I did declutter another one. I think the Troublemaker palette had some duplicates in terms of it was the same shade name, but these I felt were better quality, so I ended up keeping this one even though it is older. So the shade I'm going to work on with first is I'm going to take this beautiful Sellout shade and I'm going to take that across my lid. I find Sellout's got this beautiful like iridescence to it, but it also makes a nice base. All the shadows in this particular palette have a bit of a sheen to them, which I enjoy, especially at this time of year when it's sad and cold outside and I like to look a little bit more fun. Next, I'm going to take this fishnet shade, this lovely purple, and I'm going to tap that in the center of my lid and sort of blend that out a bit. As I've been using this palette for the last week or so, I've just been reminded about how pretty it actually is. And the colors are not necessarily super duper pigmented unless you pack them on, but they really just look very nice, very subtly done. All right, and now I'm going to take this Freak Show shade in the corner and put that sort of in that outer corner, blend that up a bit. And last up, I'm going to take a little bit of this Maui Wowie shade and I'm going to put that in my inner corner as my highlight. And Maui Wowie is one of those shades that has a really interesting gold flecked glitter in it, but I don't mind if it falls out a little bit because it is so pretty. And next up, I'm going to be using my Lancome Drama Liqui-Pencil. This is in the shade like Ampoule or Ampoule. It's a purple. It's sort of like a shimmery purple eyeliner. I actually quite like it. I've been using this sample sporadically, and I also find it actually goes really, really nicely with the purples in this shadow palette. Like, it looks like it was meant to go with it. And there's my liner. So last up, we're going to move on to lipstick. This is from Ciate London. This is their Liquid Velvet Lipstick. This is in the shade Head Over Heels. It's a beautiful bright pink. I like the formula of this, although it's not my favorite, but it's definitely very moussey and it smells pretty good. And it's very soft and comfortable on the lips. Now the thing with the Ciate Londons is that they never quite dry down, so that can be kind of frustrating, and I can find it gets on my teeth. However, I do love the color of it, so I do try to wear it periodically. It's just not my very favorite. So it's one of those things that I do think that the formula is nice, and if you like a liquid lipstick that stays smooth on your lips, it does dry a bit, but it will continue to come off on things as the day goes on. If you like a liquid lipstick that has like really fun bright colors to it and, you know, stays for the most part, I think you might like it. It's just not it's not like my tried and true, I can't have this come off and embarrass me during the day like I'm doing a show or something. Like, I would not use this particular brand, but I like it just for regular life. And I do like the way that it looks with this look. I do think it's very bright and colorful, and sometimes that's just what I'm looking for. So there you have it. This is my full face with my neglected makeup, and I actually have sort of renewed interest in a lot of the products. I really liked using the eyeshadow palette, and I think it needs to be something I take with me more often. It's more of a subtler look. I mean, as subtle as you get with purple eyeshadow, but that's something I particularly like. So I think for me, I'll probably end up using a lot more of those products in the rotation, and I don't think there's anything right now that I would want to declutter. I would actually still want to keep all of these things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, please subscribe. If you've got a suggestion for a video you'd like to see, please put that in the comments down below. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye!